Hey guys, and welcome to Captain Charlemagne's Models. I'm your Captain Charlemagne, so let's head over to the bench and see what we're doing for today's project.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the bench. So today what we are going to be doing is we are going to be taking a look at the Trumpeter 1700 USS Colorado BB-45 in her 1944 configuration. So, how about a little bit of history? So, USS Colorado was the name ship of the Colorado class battleships. The class comprised, well, originally 4 ships. Those would have been Colorado, Maryland, West Virginia, and Washington. However, Washington ran afoul of the tongue-in-cheek Washington Naval Treaty, and she was, I think she was used as a gunnery target. The other 3 ships would see most of their time in the Pacific, with USS Colorado being the first 16-inch battleship in the U.S. Navy. She served in many prestigious positions, and I believe she won quite a few port visits. Don't quote me on that last part because I'm not sure. USS Colorado was not at Pearl Harbor like the rest of her sisters on December 7th, 1941, because she was going in for modernization. It is unknown exactly what she would have actually looked like had the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor not happened. She would see quite a bit of service throughout the war. She was involved in the Marshall Islands, the Marianas Islands, Palau, she was involved at, I always mess up when I say this name, Lingayen Gulf, and she also participated at Okinawa, and then she would be part of Operation Magic Carpet, bringing troops home to the U.S., after which she was put into the reserve fleet, and she would stay there for almost 10 years until she would be scrapped, which is kind of sad. I really would have liked to see a Colorado class battleship as a museum ship, but anyway, as stated before, this is her in her 1945 configuration, so let's go ahead and open up the kit. Okay, and like with all Trumpeter kits, the model is wrapped up nice and cozy, and it's plastic. So let's see what we have first. So the first bag is going to have one of our 16-inch 45 caliber twin turrets, while on the other side is the 14-inch 50 of the Tennessee class. And that's mainly because the similarities between the two classes would normally allow you to build one model as the other. However, given World War II, and this is a post-configuration model, you would not be able to build this kit as either of the Tennessee sisters, mainly due to how the Tennessee class looked after their modernization. Which, funny fact, and that is if you look at Tennessee California, and West Virginia. After their modernizations, if it wasn't for the turrets, you would really think that those ships were actually a sibling class, mainly considering how similar they looked. It was almost eerie. But anyway, so we also have a funnel. We have some of her propeller shafts on here if you want to use those. You have a gun tub for 2 of the 20 millimeters, and you have one of her funnels and an aircraft crane in the first sprue. So that's nice. So second one, it's a dual baggie. This one has more. The other 3, it seems. No, sorry. 2, sorry. Has 2 more of the 16-inch guns. You have the lower part of the turrets, and you have the barbettes. You have the 5-inch 38 here in the corner. In the bottom, you have more. You have the gun barrels, and for those who've never built the kit and are confused, right side is for the Colorado class, left side is for the Tennessees. You have the collie floats, you have some lifeboats, some spotlights, and a couple of lifeboats. Alright, next out of the bag is pretty much identical to the last one we looked at. You get 4 sprues of pretty much the exact same thing, so there's no real need to continue to on that one. Next out of the bag is stuff to go on for the main superstructure. We have the 1 remaining fining top for the cage mast, since the rear cage mast had been removed during her modernization, I believe, or it was removed later on, I'm not sure. But she maintained 1 throughout the rest of her career. You have the second deck level. You have some piping that goes onto her funnel. Speaking of funnel, you have some right here. You have a part for her superstructure, and you have what seems like a mast, more gun hubs, and a few miscellaneous parts that I'm not exactly sure what they are. Alright. Next baggie out, more structure parts. You have the part of the second deck level. This is where her 5-inch I always forget what kind of 5-inch those are. I think they're 5-inch 40. Is it 5-inch 45? I'm not completely sure. But anyway. And funny thing about that part is that the Colorado was sailing around with multiple different types of 5-inch, but so anyway, off of that, we have the barrier piece that goes onto the hull, so you can have that step down approach that a lot of warships had, especially in the US Navy. More gun tubs for the 20mm, and pretty much just more parts going in for building superstructure. Next out of the bag is our clear plastic. As stated before, I am never a fan of this. So the clear plastic, Kingfisher float planes. You get 2 Kingfishers, which is nice of them to give. Next out of the bag, 2 sprues. These 2 sprues have some more collie floats. You have the 5-inch 38s, and you have pretty much essentially the base for the 40mm. The stand. Next out is, and still in the packaging, is the upper and lower hull. Being a Trumpeter kit, I'm not sure if they stopped it with all their kits, but of course with this you still have the split hull to where if you wanted to make her a full hull, you could. If you didn't, you can make her a waterline. I kind of wish Trumpeter still did this. It would definitely make the Belfast build slightly more entertaining because I could add that to her. Then you get one of your 2 deck halves, this being the front of the ship, your waterline base, okay, instruction manual, and the paint guide for if you want to do her with her dazzle scheme. I would not follow that simply because, well, you probably get more info online. I think okay, next piece is here. Let's move all of them right quick. So as I stated before, this piece is going to have what is essentially pretty much most of the barrels for the 40mm. So each spot thing has 2 of the quad bits on it. That's 1, 2, so 2, 4. So 4 in this one. Between the 2 of just the 40mm, more collie floats. You got your 5-inch guns that go inside the the 5-inch guns that go into the casemates on the 2nd deck level. Have the older 5-inch gun shield for that. You have your aft section deck, which is nice of them. I almost thought they ripped me off on a deck. It wouldn't be the first time. I had a Maryland kit, and it came without a deck, rear deck. I was not happy. And finally, we have another set of sprues with some plastic in between, has a gun tub, some more little parts, some collie floats, and whatever this piece right here is, I cannot tell you. we have our waterline, our decals holding the American star for the aircraft and her flags. And finally, we have our photo etch fret, which is one little fret has the cage mass. It has the aircraft launching catapult, one of her radars, her cranes, and her fighting top. So the smaller one here is the one you would use for the kit. The second one is pretty much useless unless you were going to build her in her 1941 configuration, which you cannot do with this kit because the deck is very different to what she looked like before that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of this away, and then we can move on and look at what we got in our instruction manual, which I almost put away. I will admit, there is detail missing from the kit. So if say you have 1 in 700 photo etch left over, you can definitely use that to make like some ladders and what's not to attach. So 1 in 700 railing. Excuse me. So of course, with the instructions, nice little side profile of the Colorado BB-45 in her 1945. Normal thing with instructions, pretty much telling you to read before assembling. Tells you how to apply decals. And then pretty much all the things you would see on the model telling you what you need to add or not. So open it up. First page of our instructions, pretty much our sprue maps on both pages telling you what all comes into the kit and which part is which. So the kit comes with 1 upper hull, 1 lower hull, 1 waterline, rear deck, foredeck, A1 sprue, A2, 4 in sprue, a Q sprue, OS2U, which, like I said before, is our Kingfishers. Our photo etch sprue, we get 2 T sprues, 4 U1 sprues, 4 2U sprues. Then with the V sprues, both V1 and V2 both come with 4 sprues apiece. We have our stand, and of course we have our decal. So open it forward, and the first step we would be doing is building the ship's decks. So we'd be taking a fore and rear deck and attaching them. We'd take the rear deck first, attach it, then we'd add on. I'm actually surprised it's not okay, there it is. We'd attach on A54 and the 2 pieces that go with it, A32, A33, attach it down, then we put down our foredeck. Step 2 has you pretty much making I want to say it's miscellaneous parts. Which aside from the 40 millimeters here, which is V7 and U4, and you have to make 8 of them. Second part of step 2 has us attaching 3 collie floats together and making a gun tub for the 40 millimeter. Alright. So moving forward to step 3. We have our aircraft catapult building. Then we move down, we make 2 barbettes. Okay, so we do have, okay, so that part is for, on V2 is for the 5-inch, one of the 5-inch guns. I always thought she carried the 5-inch 38s, but I think that was, okay, that was Maryland, I think, that carried the 5-inch. And she pretty much was, as she was before, just a few things changed around and guns added. Or bolted down. Some more. Minor building here. Next step is building up her gun tubs. What those 2 pieces on the sprues was in fact, it seems to be metal supports. And then finally, what would conclude step 3 is pretty much attaching everything from before down to the secondary deck. Alright. Step 4 has us working on the main deck and starting to make the area that would go on to make the secondary deck level. You're attaching your anchor capstans. You're attaching 2 20 millimeters early on. Pretty much everything that goes to making that the casemates area, and just repeating that pretty much with the second level. Underneath that, you're attaching more of the 5-inch and you're adding on 2 of the 40 millimeters into their gun tubs. Step 5 has us making a radar. I could not tell you what this tiny little piece is here. Then we are making both her 2 funnels. Next up has us making the cranes, which you could use the plastic piece, or you could use the photo etch by cutting off Q6's main part and then attaching the photo etch to it. Attaching it and the catapult down, then you are adding 2 boats. I'm guessing are 2 davits, some gun tubs, along with more 40mm mounts. Step 7 has us begin the process of building the ship's main superstructure and fighting top. Great. Step 8 continues on from there. You're still building on the fighting top. There may be some cutting involved, because from what I remember when I built Maryland and from what I've seen some people do on YouTube, some of the area for making sure the parts are aligned right excuse me, it's late. It's very late here. You may have to cut away those parts and sand it down so you can get a nice clean fit. You're continuing on with the superstructure building, moving on to making your fighting top and then attaching it to the PE cage mast, which I would like to point out early on that if you do not know how to make cage masts, they do make 3D printed 1 in 700 cage masts for the Tennessee and Colorado kits. Alright, step 9 has us making the ship's main guns. Pretty much drilling out holes at the top. I believe that's for the super firing turret. And you're adding on some collie floats. The N8 is for, I believe, if you want to be able to rotate them. The kit, from how it seems, okay, so you could use N30, which gives you blast bags, or you could use the other ones, which is technically I would say it's technically the 14-inch gun, and you could attach those instead. But given that actually, now that I look at the box art again, it almost kind of makes me think that she doesn't have blast bags on her upper turrets. But considering that the box art does indeed still carry the blast bags, I am most likely going to actually use those. So scrolling down, it's pretty much same steps. You're attaching the collie floats to the sides, and you're also attaching the I always forget the name of those little things. They mount them on the barbette, and then they take them and they put them in the water, and that's supposed to help with dealing with mines. Starts with a G. I'll remember later. And I honestly could not tell you what all these go into building. I think that might be for the rear superstructure. Alright, flip it around. Pretty much this step is, for step 10, is you are attaching everything down to make the main superstructure. Following that is, it would seem I was correct in that those pieces do go into making the rear structure or the main mast of the ship. So this whole part here is all the steps needed to build up that main mast. Step 10 is attaching your funnels down and then attaching down your main superstructure. Step 11 has you adding on the 2 elevated gun tubs down in between the fore and aft funnels, and then following on from that, it's pretty much just attaching your guns and attaching your superstructure. Moving backwards, and then step 12 and 13 is building up, well, step 12 is building up your Kingfisher, and step 13 is technically what should actually be, in my opinion, step 1, which is putting on the ship's propellers and shafts, as well as her rudder. 14 is, again, technically 1 and 2, is where you can choose between either doing a waterline or full hull. Then you would set her on her stand, and of course put her name placard in front of her, and bing a bada boom, she's all complete. So with that out of the way, I would like to say that that will conclude our first look at what comes in the USS Colorado 1944 edition of the 1 in 700 Trumpeter kit. So I would like to point out right away that this kit will be coming after we build the German heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen. The reason why this kit was covered so early is, well, I like the Colorado class. I think they are a very nice looking group of ships, Colorado and Maryland especially. Although personally I'm more of a fan of the New Mexicos, but there's no plastic kit of the New Mexico class, only resin. The reason why we covered this kit before we covered the Prinz Eugen is I got to move a lot of stuff to be able to get to the Prinz Eugen. And yeah, it's early here and I'm like, I need to make a video. Let's just make a video on the Colorado. So anyway, I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. I hope you all have a nice day. I hope you have a nice week. Just a bit of channel admin before I go. This week and maybe next week there will not be any content. The reason is at my job we are doing inventory and I am on the inventory team, so the content's gonna have to kind of be cut because I will not have time to do anything. But once that's done, we will be back to our pretty much normal schedule of 1 video a week. But that aside, like I said before, it's just happens from time to time. But like look after yourselves, everyone. Take care. This has been Captain Charlemagne, and I am signing off. Ta-ta, everyone.